So in the last video, I mentioned that as I was sitting there doing the video, I had a text message from my mom pop up, and she said something about needing me to bring her some things at Hancock, and I was like, what's going on? Because he was at the nursing home, which is not Hancock. Hancock is the hospital, and so obviously that would mean something happened on that end, right? So I, finished my video when I was ready to finish my video. But when I looked at the message, I said something about, so he's back at the hospital, and she said, yes. She said, he almost died on us. His, SAT percentage, whatever, was 70 and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay. Again, didn't panic. I just sent a screenshot of the conversation to my brother, and while I was skating, I got a message back from him saying, oh shit, are you going to go to the hospital? And I said, no, I'm not. Because, I said, first off, consider the source. This is from Mom, and every single time anything happens, we're supposed to believe that it's like the critical last moment kind of a thing. But it's not. It never has been. Here we are, still doing the same bullshit. And he's like, true. So it's like, yeah, always consider the source. She sent me and my dad a message in the group text that we have going for the three of us, saying that she needed me and him to pack her some things, but also said that she wasn't sure if they were going to be staying at the hospital or if he would go back to the nursing home tonight. Either way, she's planning on staying. Whoop-de-doo, I don't care anymore. As I was skating, I had some thoughts. There's part of, the last video, when I wrapped it up, I was thinking, is that maybe a little harsh? Am I just sounding like completely bitchy? And it could be, and I don't care. And I don't care. As I was thinking about it, and my brother just sent me a text saying he's so aggravating because she's cried wolf so many damn times. It's like, yep. There was more to that he said that I'll figure out later. But that was what popped up. It's like, yeah. So, I skated 7 miles. That's what I spent. Okay, I wrapped up my last video 2 hours ago. Did a little bit around the house and got ready to come over here and skate. And I had some thoughts. Mainly, it's like, okay, there was the thought of feeling the question as to whether I was just coming across bitchy. And, I had those conversations that I am good about when I'm skating. And it's like, you know what? I don't think so. Basically, at this point, I am fully embracing my role as the family disappointment. And, I've talked on here before about how after, I started getting bullied at school because of my cousin saying dumb shit, and basically coercing me at a time that I didn't know any better with knowledge to enlighten me, whatever, and everything shifted from, basically I became the whore in the family, right? And what I realized when I was 35 was that what he said had happened hadn't happened, but I was just so afraid to reflect back into any of it to be able to make that connection on my own, because my mom's approach was to, basically come down with the hand of God, and you don't do this kind of stuff, and boys can get you pregnant, and, shit that she didn't even bother trying to see if what he said was the truth. She just assumed that it was and rolled from there, which this idiot he's 3 days older than me, so he didn't know anything more than I knew anyway, other than what his brother probably told him. And yeah, he was dangerous with that information, and it fucked my life up for a while, and my mom, rather than trying to investigate and see what actually happened, just assumed that it was right, told people in the family that it was right. And, I remember another thing I've talked on here before about is the first time, I think, after my mom's parents moved back home from Oklahoma, and we were over at their house, and I just remember feeling like I was the freaking elephant in the room. And it's like, if I'm in trouble, tell me I'm fucking in trouble, get mad at me, whatever. And it's like, it wasn't anything like that. It was just this heavy judgment and condemnation that just like rained down on me from there on. And the energetics of it, now that I can look back at it, I think I've always picked up on the fact that I was the problem in the family, right? So, there was a sense of communication between, the energies present that were saying, she's going to humiliate the family, and that was basically the thing, right? So that was always the impression that I got from my grandfather, was I was the family humiliation, or I was the one that was going to ruin the family. And at this point, I don't really give a shit anymore, because I started, I figured out the whole boundary thing, and have realized that those family ties, that it might not be something that is spoken in words, but I have always been sensitive to the weight behind even the avoidance of, the things that aren't being said. It's like I've always picked up on being the problem just because they assumed stupid shit. And, that was like that big, the big thing in stealing my voice from me and making sure I was unable to speak for so much of my life, really. And, terrified to use my voice because I might do something to embarrass the family. And that was the biggest thing. It's like, I always felt like I was a problem for the family. So no, at this point, I don't give a shit anymore if I'm now actually stepping into my role as the problem in the family. I mean, for fuck's sake, this is literally my entire life. I have felt the weight of the judgments and, heard nonstop about him dying and whatever. And it's like, shit or get off the pot, And I know it sounds bitchy, and sometimes it kind of feels bitchy, but how much is too much? Because obviously they're not going to stop doing what they're doing, and they don't even see anything wrong with what they've been doing. My mom is going to get a rude awakening, I think, once something finally happens and she doesn't have that to occupy her time with, and she realizes that me and my brother have both set much firmer boundaries and aren't going to just keep playing the stupid bullshit games anymore. So I was thinking I'd call this video, Um, I was going to try to, I cracked the window, and turns out I don't want the window cracked, but I don't know, the car's not kicking up enough. Anyway, it's all right. It's like half an inch. I'll live. Um, but yeah, I was thinking the entire time I was skating, I was really frustrated on the skating. Sometimes I was skating really hard, and other times it's just like, the fuck, whatever, or like wind resistance and just slowing down and not going as fast as I would like to, and sometimes hauling ass. So yeah, it was kind of all over the place, but I got my 7 miles in, and I knew I definitely wanted to do another video, and I'm thinking of renaming my channel, honestly. I'll probably do that here in a little bit. Yeah, this, just everything is, I'm tired of the stupid shit, and the stupid shit ain't gonna go away until there's reason for it to go away. So yeah, and like the whole point that she had to include me and my dad in a text to say he and I could pack for her. It's like, why can't he just figure it out, and why do I have to be a part of that? He can just do all that. I don't care. And especially, he's so eager to please, especially right now, because something is falling apart, so he can step in and try to be the hero for the moment. And as soon as they're gone, it's going to go back to the same bullshit it was with my great grandfather when he passed. And I don't know who I am. I don't know what I can do. Tell me who I am to you and what I can do to help you best, and that kind of shit. It's like, if you're genuinely coming from a place of wanting to help, it's one thing. But when you're doing it from the standpoint of you don't know who the fuck you are, it's really kind of aggravating and outside looking in. Because that, I've talked about that issue too, because at a time everything was falling apart in my life, he started bullying me as well with, fucking name calling, and stupid shit, when it's like everything was already going to shit, largely because of my family and their avoidance of tackling issues head on, so they end up getting created into something that they never should have been. It became like this little monster kind of a thing that I didn't have anything I could do with it. I didn't know what was available to do with anything, because I just knew that I was suddenly bad, and it took me until I was fucking 35 years old to figure out that it was all because we just sweep things under the rug. We don't deal with things head on. And if we had, then I wouldn't have had to spend my whole life thinking a certain way about myself that wasn't even accurate, because, that was just the accepted interpretation from the family. So I just got dumped on because of that. And I was skating around and I was thinking about, my mom and I used to like go head to head sometimes. And when I was in high school, it was really bad when I was in high school. And I got to a point where when I moved out, I said I would never move back. And obviously that hasn't worked out for me. Because toxic family systems and the stupid bullshit that can't ever be handled. And we don't teach people to know who they are. We just teach them who we want to be, or who we want them to be, and who they have to be acceptable for the family and all that bullshit. So I struggle on not I struggle on holding my tongue when it comes to dealing with the bullshit with my grandfather at this point, because I can appreciate the fact that a lot of his issue stems from he is very much unhealed Virgo and super critical of himself as well as everybody else. But it starts with himself, and I've always known that, and I've always been able to look past that to an extent, because I was also trying to buy in on trying to be acceptable, because that was all I was shown in my life, was that's what you're supposed to do. And it's like, no, that's not what I'm fucking supposed to do. At this point, I'm embracing the fact that I am full on family disappointment, and I'm perfectly okay with the fact that I'm getting even mouthier the closer we get to the possibility that something might happen to him. And, you know, I keep telling my brother and my cousin, it's like, when I figure out how to get the fuck out of this house in this situation I'm currently in, I don't know that I'll ever be back. You know, I might go like my cousin did and just turn my back on the whole family, with the exception of the ones that I talked to, like my brother and his group and my cousin. But I honestly don't know at this point. I really don't. I'm so tired of, you know, even the fact that I look at the video that I did earlier. I haven't watched it yet, but I will. But when I just feeling back into it and how I was feeling in the process and how I perceive that I could have come across in that video, I don't, you know, that feeling of, was it too bitchy, is still coming from the place of trying unsuccessfully to stop appeasing the family to some degree, you know, because that's what I've known my whole life. You don't break something or a habit like that overnight. Obviously it's taken me a whole fucking year to get this mouthy on here, but you know, I had this thought when I was skating of like the anger that is currently just, it's there. I keep pulling these cards too that talk about there's something going on underneath the surface, and you know, you know, there's more happening that you can't quite see yet. Now I'm feeling into this situation more, and like the anger I was feeling while I was skating, I just had like this sort of visualization of like a zit coming to a head and like is ready to like bust. And that kind of feels like how my anger is on this whole situation. And I keep holding back and not saying the thing to my family. Like my mom made a comment about, it's been probably about a month ago at this point, that she felt I was awfully snarky to her father and she did not appreciate it. And I was just kind of like, oh well, you know, but I haven't said, I mean, I've said it to my friends and I've said it to my brother, shit or get off the pot. You know, we keep hearing how desperate the situation is. He's fucking 85. He's spent at least 33 years of my life that I can actively remember, obsessing over his death. And the only reason I don't know how much he was obsessed with it before was because I didn't have any kind of relationship to him before, because when I was 6 weeks old, he and my grandmother moved to Oklahoma for work, and they were out there until after my great grandpa died, which was when I was 7, and so he moved back right around the time I turned 8. So that's basically the extent of what I know of them, has been him obsessing over his death, and him largely being a bully to my grandmother and to his daughters, you know, because he's so critical and can't fix his own shit himself. So he just stays in judgment of himself and enforces that on others as well. So then, because we have the 3 daughters who are trying to earn daddy's favor, you know, my mom being the oldest, she's, I think, definitely the worst about trying to earn daddy's affections. And, you know, the middle sister, kind of the same, but she was 5 years younger. The youngest sister, I've said before, she has the most detachment from the situation because as the third and final daughter, at that point, he knew that there weren't going to be any more kids, so she became the most, she was essentially the most of a tomboy, and because he was not going to get a son, he settled for the tomboy being a good thing, and that was, you know, the favorite. You know, so then that goes into that whole family dynamic of the favoritism and how that was a whole issue, you know. And then, yeah, I mentioned, I think in the last video, that I had conversations with my cousins when I used to babysit them where they brought it up to me, being 12 and 15 years younger than me. They were the ones that brought it up to me about my grandparents playing favorites, and how we knew the 3 of us were not the favorites. You know, eventually over time it became, there was one favorite and the least favorite in each set, but for a long time it was me and the middle sister's daughters were on the least favorite list. And you know, it's not something they'd ever admit to, by no means, because, well, who's going to admit to that bullshit? But it was very clear, and I don't think anybody had any question about that. You know, so then, yeah, so then there's that level where I think there was probably a little dissension between the sons of the younger sisters because they ended up being in the same grade. And so there was that whole thing. And then, however, the grandparents received either of them, that's probably a big part of why the one doesn't have anything to do with any of the family. You know, and I don't blame him. And I'm getting real close. This is just bullshit. Oh. And yeah. As I was skating, I was thinking, you know, I already have the title of the videos for this one, and I think I got part A and part B now. Because, I mean, clearly this is a continuation of the earlier video. You know, just I had to take some time beforehand. And I just got a room number from my mom, but I don't know if that's the hospital or if that's the nursing home, because they were both in the 300s. So, yeah. But at some point, she's not going to like it when she pushes me to the point that I tell her, when she, you know, she's trying to hype up how critical this is for him, either shit or get off the pot. I don't care. I have spent 33 years of my life mourning this man's death, and he's not dead yet. So here we are, you know, fucking 33 years of hearing how everything's going to kill him. This is going to be the thing that kills me. This is the thing that kills me, whatever. And it hasn't done it. He's outlived all of his friends. He has lived a lot longer than either of his parents have. And I get that he's seen it as a scary thing, you know, and it's probably largely that jacked up, you know, the whole Christian thing. If you don't believe in Jesus, you go to hell. But he claims he does, but obviously he's not so committed to that belief system that he can just let anything go. So we're just stuck. And I do appreciate the fact that I have been able to see his journey and to realize that, or see parts of his journey and to realize that we don't need hell as a place to go when we die, or like the fear of hell being a place you go when you die, because he's literally been there my entire life and he has not moved beyond it. And he is pulling the rest of the family down into it. He always has, and that's just where they all sit. And two of them go to church actively and will try to claim that, that's something special for them, and that's fine. But when it starts imposing on others, and there have been ways where that has kind of creeped in, and I try to call it out when I see it. Yeah, and there's these clouds are really pretty over here now, but they're so irritating, and yeah, okay, going with the comment, the conversation I talked about the other day, I think it was yesterday or day before, with the girl that used to be the leader of the Bible study I went to in the dorm, and when she told me that a fly buzzing around your face is annoying, but I needed to own up to, if I was feeling pissed off, to admit that I was feeling pissed off, and if I was sad about something, to admit that I was feeling sad about something. It's like, you know what, that all stems from this whole dynamic too, because it's like my life was sadness, and judgment, and I felt I held all of that against myself because for whatever reason, the family didn't give a shit about what was actually going on with me. The family gave a shit about how I was going to make the family look. So at this point, I don't even care anymore. And I'm beyond tired of this fucked up system. And I'm thinking about renaming my channel. There's a really good chance I'm going to do it. And it'll go right along with the title of these videos. Because it's part 1 and part 2, or part A and part B, however I choose to do that when I get there. But embracing my role as the family disappointment. And it's so funny because last night, I have eaten an oatmeal cream pie today. That was all I've had, and that's probably why I was going slow at certain times on my skate, because that was all I ate, and now my stomach's like grumbling. So, sorry if you heard that. But yeah, last night, that was where I was going with that. Last night, when I mentioned to my brother that he and I were basically contending for the role of the biggest family disappointment at this point, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about, and he went right along with it. Yep. So that little bit that I just sent him a screenshot of the conversation my mom had sent me about he almost died today. And, he went first into that, well, are you going to go visit? And I was like, no, consider the source. And he's like, oh yeah. So it's like, if she would have been around to catch that little moment where he was like, oh, what? Oh shit, then he would, then I would be the bigger disappointment at the moment. I said earlier, he's currently the bigger disappointment because he didn't bother to take any chances on taking something to a pregnant woman with a high-risk pregnancy. And, because she is the family of his wife, it's not our family per se. So, this is one of those families that is very hard to come into and find acceptance in, and even the son-in-laws kind of show that, at least For the older two, they show it loud and clear. The other one, the youngest daughter's husband, he's the most like my grandfather, and that was drawn, or like her attention was pulled to that at that point in time, which he's always been the favorite son-in-law for my grandparents, because we just continue that dynamic everywhere. And he's the one, honestly, that I feel like he has the most sense on a lot of things, despite the fact that he is a lot like my grandfather. The benefit is he's a Gemini instead of a Virgo, so, well, I'm thinking about it. I don't know. Are those two? No, those two aren't sister signs. That's, yeah, they're too close. No. But, you know, Gemini being an air sign and more about communication and talking through things. And the times that I have been, you know, both of my mom's sisters, I have spent a lot of time with in my lifetime, connecting more with them, and the aggravation that's come from dealing with my mom. So they know there's a lot there. And I don't remember what it was. Somewhere when I started really going into this healing process, I spent some time with the youngest aunt, and we're just going off about all sorts of stuff. And when her husband got home, he was like, oh, we're talking. You know, he didn't say anything, but he just kind of sat in, and he came in and was all sorts of into listening to what was going on, and, you know, just receiving the information and kind of processing through it, basically. And they're no dummies. They know that the dynamic is jacked up. To what extent they see it as a problem and needing to be dealt with, I don't know. But, well, I will be the problem choosing to deal with it. Honestly. Yeah. So, it's just so aggravating. But, like, just the fact that I spent time while I was skating concerned about whether I just sounded bitchy. It's like, there you go, reverting back to the same bullshit. We know there is a very valid reason that I feel this way, and it has been building my entire life. Now we're just kind of sitting in this, like, really uncomfortable space of yeah, of waiting for the pimple to burst, if you will. You know, and that's not okay. Another thing that's aggravating, as my stomach continues grumbling at me, a couple days ago, my mom comes home. Oh, fuck. I don't know what that message was, but it said, Sarah, you probably need to. So here we go. While I'm doing this video, that's the message I see. No, I don't know. I got shit to worry about, and honestly, that's not a priority. Whatever's happening out there, not my priority at this point in time. But a couple days ago, I think right around the time we got moved back to the nursing home, she starts saying my grandma's all stressed out because they don't have anything written up for the funeral. It's like, are we talking like the freaking eulogy? What? And I got asked to start working on that. It's like, he's not dead. I'm pretty sure if I start writing it right now, you're not gonna be happy. You're not gonna like what I have to say, because it's not pretty, you know, and I'm pretty sure you're not going to want me being involved with that process anyway, because so much of my life has been weighted around being a problem because I'm a problem for him, you know. And I've talked about on here several times that there was that moment when I, you know, it was with I was dating the guy before my ex-husband, and he was really into motorcycles, just got a motorcycle. I took a motorcycle class because at one point I was looking at getting a motorcycle. So naturally, if I'm going to do this thing, I should take a safety course, right? So that makes sense. So I'm all signed up for this class, and we go over to the afternoon at my grandparents' house and are sitting on the back porch. He's on the swing, and I was sitting on the swing too. And my mom said something to him about me taking a motorcycle class, and he says, "Why you always got to do everything different? You got two of the ugliest cats in the world. You got damn geckos, tattoos, and now you're trying to take this, or now you're going to take a motorcycle class." And I just looked at him. I said, "My sole purpose in life is to piss you off." And that was the only time or the most successful time I've ever had shutting him up. But that's my entire life. And I'm sick and tired of that bullshit. So it's probably going to, yeah, my sun's going down. Sorry. I'm pretty confident they don't want me coming up with a eulogy. Especially if he's not even dead yet. So, yeah. And I don't fucking care if I sound like a bitch. Because literally I've spent all my life caring about what everybody else thought, because they let me know repeatedly my entire life that I was the disappointment, I was a problem in the family. So now, okay, now I'm gonna fucking embrace my role as the fucking problem, okay? You know, because I'm really sick of seeing, like, people get hurt because of toxic family systems. And I know there's, you know, people that have been through, you know, maybe worse situations than I have on that end, but I'm sick of it. It's bullshit, you know, and it's, fucking look at the government. You want to know how that government got into place? By stupid family systems that are so fucking toxic that people get stuck and can't figure out what the problem is exactly. They might see there's a real big problem, but they don't know what exactly it is. Since it's getting dark, and I think my light over there is the best one. This one up here is not doing jack for some reason. But I got this awesome little rear view mirror shadow on my face. Oh, and the part of me that allows myself to walk into the punishing myself role is kind of interested in what that last text message said, since I need to do anything. Yeah. And also, if one day I show up with, you know, like, not the same kind of hair that I've been rocking here for the past, I've been doing it more than a year, but since I need assistance, and it's generally from my mother, if one day I come back and my hair's black or just like straight purple, because I went to the permanent dyes that I have 2 boxes of that are just hanging out, I was thinking about rehoming them, but at this point, if I know that's something that she's potentially going to use against me, because, well, she knows I like getting my hair done. Well, she knows I like having it done after it's done. I don't really like the process or anything. But since right now it's relying on her far more than I really care to, if we get to a point where he finally dies or something, and it doesn't look favorable that it's going to happen, or she just moves back into the hospital with him because for some reason she has to stay at the hospital when that was not a road, but every now and then people use it as a road. Whatever. The fuck's he even doing? Going back down the road. That's not a road. Anyway. You know, like, okay. In August, he spent 15 days at the hospital. She was there every single night, my mom. And then he got sent to the rehab hospital, and she was ready to spend every night there until the youngest sister stayed the night there. And the second night, I guess my uncle came in at some point and was like, why do you need a babysitter? And then it was okay for a time for nobody to be there a night. But that was at the rehab hospital, and they weren't really wanting anybody to stay all the time either, because it's not healthy. It's ridiculous. I mean, shy of a fucking child, that might make sense, but he's 85. So he was at the rehab hospital. I don't remember for how long. And then he got moved to the nursing home, and they would not allow anybody to stay there. He was in the rehab part of the nursing home, and they didn't want anybody staying there. But then it was okay because the nurses just adored him, and so nobody had to stay there the whole time. Well, then he had to go back to the hospital. So then my mom's back to staying every night with him at the hospital. It's like, whatever. And then he went, what happened then? Oh, then there was the 3 nights at home when he never should have been at home, but insurance wouldn't pay for anymore. So he went back home, and they didn't stay over there, but you know, my mom and then, our family, and then the second daughter, both live next door. So if there was a problem, they could call, whatever. Then Wednesday, he ends up going back to the hospital because he's septic. And then she goes back to staying at the hospital every single night again. And then it gets moved back to the rehab, so she comes home for a couple nights. And then he goes back to the hospital today, and she's all ready to stay all night with him. And she says that, well, he's under the impression that things work out better when I'm there. It's like, he's siphoning your fucking life force, and you're going right along with it. There's nothing healthy about this. This is just toxic, breeding toxicity. And here we are. So, yeah. I don't know. But yeah, when I started pulling back my energy, and of course it's still a disconnection process because this is literally my entire, oh boy. My dad washed clothes for my mom to take her some clothes to the hospital, I guess. And I just got, when the clothes are dry, I'll be something. So probably back over there. I don't know. Go in hiding. I would really like to run away, but hey, I'm stuck at the moment. Now I'm getting the list of what needs to be packed. Yeah. It's ridiculous, y'all. I'm assuming he's probably staying at the hospital, since I think that comment was 4 pairs of something. Whatever. Whatever. It is what it is. And I would like to run away. But here we are. So as soon as I figure out how to get that happen, and I think this is the universe amping up the discomfort and the irritation of dealing with the same bullshit, to try to move me a little quicker. I think that's the thing that's the thing we're doing now. But yeah. Anyway, I almost tried to end this once. Might as well end it. And whatever's happening on that end, I'm going to eat first. And then, I don't know that I care to go over there, to be honest. I really don't. Whatever's happening. And, she said, was it yesterday? Yeah, when we had that little bit of a conversation, and she said that I could go visit him with them. He really wants to see you. He doesn't. Yeah, bullshit. If he wants to see me for any reason, it's just to see if I am concerned, as my mother is, to allow my life force to be suctioned out of me. Nope, I'm done with that one. That goes back to that one dream that I've referred to many times where, my ex and I were sitting on the couch, and then the twin flame and the other guys were sitting on stools behind the couch. And at the time, when I had the dream in 2020, it was just really, it was an overwhelming sense of anger at my ex. And then when I started being able to go back into it, I realized that he was basically a leech on my energy, and he was never supposed to be there, but because of this other bullshit, he was there, and that anger that I couldn't shake was something that I had to process through and, break that connection from. And yeah, that took a lot of work, and definitely some assistance from the universe and whatever else is out there, if you will. But here we are. Yeah, I gotta go home and eat something, and then probably go potty my brother's dogs, and probably watch these while I'm sitting over there so they have more time out of the cage. They got a big walk earlier, almost 1.5 miles, so they're doing pretty good. And since I did it yesterday, I went into the bathroom, but it's because there's a bathroom at the entryway by the garage door, and I went into the bathroom, and when I came out, they were ready for the leash. They were like jumping up on the little bench thing there, like, here I am, put this leash on me, we know the thing, this is the routine now. It's like, we've done it once, it's already routine. Okay. Well, now we've done it twice. Yesterday we did 1.14 miles, today we did 1.44 miles, and that was probably a little more than we should have for the Basset, but she was alright. I think if it was any hotter, she might not have loved it as much. But yeah, it is what it is. It was good, and I'm pretty sure they've probably been resting good in those crates, even though they'll be ready to get out as soon as I get over there. Yeah, I won't be locked up forever either. So, as always, I appreciate you, and until the next time, see ya.